Well, hello world. How are you? My name is Katha Cato, and I am the Executive Director of the Queens World Film Festival.
And I'm Preston Cato, the Artistic Director of the Queens World Film Festival.
And we're here today as part of a program that we call Movies on the Menu, where we are screening films at Elmhurst Hospital all year long as part of the honors that we bestowed on them at our recent festival, which ran June 23rd through July 3rd, 2021. It was our 11th annual Queens World Film Festival.
Felt like the 12th.
It did. It felt like the 112th, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
It really did. So we screened 198 films online with our streaming partners, Film Festival Flicks, and that was an incredible experience.
And we screened 143 live film screenings over 5 venues here in Queens.
And we were at the Queens Theater, we were at MOMI, we were at Culture Club, we were at the Local, and we were at the United Sherpa Association. So we have a very special guest today from one of the films, and we have a very special guest from Elmhurst Hospital. Again, the entire staff of Elmhurst Hospital are Spirit of Queens honorees. You are our warriors. You are our heroes. The film that we're talking about is Walk with Frank. It's screened at the Queens Theater, which is a beautiful 400-seat theater facility. They had over 100 people there, and I have to say, that red carpet and those pictures in that lobby for that particular screening was the most joyous event that we'd had in 18 months.
And Walk with Frank was our audience award winner, and it deserved that very much so. It's an incredible film about the journey of this man and his quest for the understanding and awareness of PTSD. It's very personal. It's very emotional. And the beauty of it all is it's very simple.
It's directed by Ryan Mayers and Matt Mayers, a brothers team, gracious filmmakers, beautiful work. Let's take a look at the trailer.
My name is Frank Romeo, and I have a mental disorder, and I suffer PTSD.
2 years ago, he came to us and said, I want to bounce something off you two. What do you think of this? And we were like, wow, really? You want to do this?
What Frank is doing now is literally walking across New York State. Started in Buffalo. He's with us here today in Albany on his way down to the Mid-Hudson Valley in New York City and out to Long Island.
We have 22 suicides a day in the veteran community. Just take a minute to understand that. I have prosthetics in my left leg. I have a bullet in my spine, which has caused some nerve damage.
Frank went dark for many, many, many years.
Drugs and alcohol for 20 years.
I can't do it in front of my son yet.
Moving forward is like the most important thing in my life, because there was a period of my life that I just couldn't move forward. I was stuck in place.
I'm dealing with it, you know what I mean? Me too. So we're on the same page. Yeah.
After my wife passed away, that was my trigger. She wasn't here to keep me grounded.
Right.
That's when it came out.
I'm a survivor of gun violence. My sister was murdered at the Sandy Hook Elementary School, and I got PTSD. God bless you.
To be able to come together to help him have some resolution to why he went through the things that he had to go through, that's why we're here.
You need to see the big picture, and the big picture is going from A to B. We're going to get there. How we get there is all individual. Everybody has their journey.
Gets me every time.
Gets me every single time. So with our partnership at Elmhurst Hospital Center, we are lucky enough to work with so many of the staff members there through their programs. And we have a special guest who's going to help us with our interview today. Before we bring Frank in, I'd like to please introduce Captain Sixto Valentin, who is the captain of the Elmhurst Hospital Police. Captain, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. And I see also we do have Frank Romeo from Walk with Frank. Virtual applause to both of you. You are our heroes. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
So you
Thank
two
you.
just met a few minutes before we started, and you really don't need us. So we're going to ask our technician to minimize us and let you two have a conversation about the topic of your film and PTSD and where we are now.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to
So
you.
we had a little bit of an introduction earlier. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about me. Whereas I am the commanding officer for the 6th Division Hospital Police here at Elmhurst Hospital. Prior to joining the New York City Hospital Police, I was a police officer in Sacramento, California. I had gone to California because that's where the Air Force dropped me off. I have a total of 11 years of active service between the United States Marine Corps and the United States Air Force. In the Air Force, I did deploy to the first Gulf War. I am a disabled veteran. And I'm here to learn from you. I had watched your film twice, as I had told you, and there's a plethora of information, and this is opening up a whole new, I guess, world in the sense of how we all should be looking at PTSD.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to be here. It's an honor. Thank you for your service. And it's just wonderful that we're doing this morning. And hello, Elmhurst Hospital staff. I hope you enjoy my film. I hope you learn from it. And as I say, keep the conversation going about mental health and PTSD.
That's great. I'm a little jealous because my office isn't as clean as your background there, so I wish I would have cleaned up. But I've got a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
Not at all, sir.
Okay, so my first question is a two-part. So, with regards to the film, what effect, if any, did the making of this film have on you? And the second part is basically what effect did it have on others?
On this walk, on making the film, we have to first step back and talk about the actual walk itself and preparing for the walk. I covered 35 counties in New York State, and with that, this project has been in the works for 5 years. And 2 years prior to the walk, I visited each county twice, and talked to the people, let them know that I was coming through, let them know what would be happening in 2 years. I talked to the VSOs, the Veteran Service Officers of each county, elected officials, veteran organizations, anyone that would listen to me, basically, and let them know what I was about to do. On the walk itself, what I really learned personally, on a personal note, on the walk was I learned to listen. I'm a talker. I could talk, take up the whole hour here talking. But what I learned to listen, and I think in this day and age, what with politics and society and everybody having an agenda, we're not listening. We're not listening to each other. And the film actually gave the homeless a voice. We gave PTSD a voice, and we let them speak. All the entire film, there was no studio work in this film. Everything in the entire film was done on the road, and
Wow.
most of it was spontaneous. And it's amazing that people just in the beginning, I was alone most of the time until I got known a little bit more, and I got a little more of the media coverage. Then people started looking for me, and people started to reach out to me. And they needed a voice. They needed to be listened to. And what I learned mostly was to listen. And I think it reflects on today's society. I think we don't listen to each other. I think we're all wrapped up, whether it be politics or our own agendas. We're so wrapped up in our own little world, we're not listening to each other. And with that, a lot of the people who need to be listened to fall through the cracks. And we gave them a voice. The film actually, um, people would just find us and say, "Listen, I want to talk to you," and just walk into a shoot. I'd be speaking at a memorial, for instance, in Troy, New York, and a gentleman just walks into the shoot and just starts talking and the most amazing story. He's sharing the most amazing stories because no one ever listened to him before, and here he was, and most times, 9 times out of 10, they started the conversation saying, "I never told anyone this before. I never shared this before," and which just speaks volumes to the whole concept of yeah, people need a voice. People need to be heard. We're grouped into in society. We're grouped into different groups or whatever you want to call it, but people need a voice.
Thank you.
I think what people learned, what I found others learned, for instance, walking, I stopped traffic on the George Washington Bridge. I was out there with my daughter and her partner, and we're out on the GW Bridge coming into West Harlem, and I stopped traffic, and people just started beeping, and I had my flag. I carried a flag throughout the walk, and at that point, I realized that people were listening to me. So at the same time, I was listening to other people. I needed someone to listen to me, and it's what I've been doing for 30 years. I've been traveling the country, talking to anyone about PTSD. I've been doing it for 30 years, long before it was popular. Long before people knew the term PTSD, I was traveling across the country, sleeping in my van, and setting up shop where anyone, any educational institution, any school district, any veteran organization that would want to listen to me speak, I would stop and speak. So at that moment on a GW bridge towards the end of my walk, I realized people were listening to me. And so, I fall into the same group as the people that I'm representing or the people that I've given a voice to, that, I have my own voice and I need to be heard. And it's something that I've been searching for, for 30 years now with PTSD. I'm one of the longest living veterans diagnosed at 100% PTSD from the government. It's 50 years now. And so for 30 of those 50 years, I've been teaching it. When I came to terms with my trauma and I spiraled down this dark place, when I found myself, I began teaching it. So, it's 50 years for me. And so finally, people are starting to listen.
Okay. You're a pioneer, definitely. So, my second question, you explain in the film all about your mission, but can you summarize it for us?
Basically, in one sentence, would be keep the conversation going. I started a conversation 30 years ago about PTSD, and it's morphed. It's really in the beginning of the film. You've seen the film that I talk about veterans of PTSD. About time I reached Albany, I got to speak out on the Senate floor in Albany and talk to our legislators about mental illness and PTSD. It had morphed. My mission had morphed into mental health. People would just not. It just wasn't veterans trying to find me and talk to me, or walk with me. It had morphed into a mental health movement. And that is the conversation now. It's mental health. It's the stigma surrounding mental health. On my walk, I met state troopers helped us along the way throughout New York State, and so they would guide us into the best place avenue to walk and keep us out of harm's way. Well, I got to know a lot of the state troopers, and in private they would tell me about their trauma, but yet they wouldn't step forward. They wouldn't get help. The stigma surrounding them. They were afraid of the stigma. They were afraid of losing their job. They were afraid of being, um, being labeled, and so, that is the mission. That is the mission to say it out loud. Um, Even though people know who I am, I usually at a lecture introduce myself as having mental illness. So I say the words out loud. You know, we need to treat mental illness as we do physical illness. We need to talk about it, and we need to get it out there and say the words out loud. And each time, and just that simple sentence, I have mental illness. That short little sentence speaks volumes as to the mission statement. We need to say these words out loud, and I impress that in my lectures and my travels, and it seems to break the ice, especially with veterans. Veterans are you're a veteran. Veterans are a special breed with 10% of the population. Um, it's kind of a brother sisterhood that you know we need to be recognized, and we need to say the mental illness, especially for these veterans. And now with the pandemic, I mean, Elmhurst, we're here talking to Elmhurst Hospital now, and what they did during the height of COVID is just it's amazing. It's nothing short of a battle zone, and nothing short of them being veterans, and them actually being able to say, I need to talk to someone, or I just need to share my story and talk about it. And so the mission statement is keeping the conversation going. If I had to sum it up in one short sentence, it would be that we need to keep talking about it out loud.
And I got to appreciate that because you hit the nail on the head. We actually try to incorporate, and when I say we, the hospital police here at 6th Division, the supervisors, was always trained, and I trained the officers to understand mental illness in a different light. Is we're first receivers. We're in the line of healthcare. The same person that comes in for whether they have the flu or pancreatitis or they're coming in for a toothache or what have you, a bad cold. It is a physical ailment that they feel. Well, it's no different with regards to mental illness. You have to look at it that way. You have to look at it with the same uh, um, sympathetic goggles and understand. And that's where we are now. And I understood that with your film, that it doesn't necessarily have to be a war veteran their experience. It is the firemen, it is the EMTs, it is the police officers, hospital police officers, nurses, doctors. Particularly, like anything can bring on a post-traumatic stress. 9/11, the economic crash in 2008. These are things, the school shootings, things we see all the time that have an effect on us, and we can't shake it. I try to get the officers to understand, and your film hit that right on that nail right on the head with regards to how to look at mental illness. So I appreciate that. You ready for my next question, sir?
Sure, go.
Has your message changed since the film?
It has changed slightly because I learned so much. Living in the homeless shelters now for 3.5 months, I lived in homeless shelters. Um, it doesn't always show that in the film because uh, we have 3.5 months of footage, sometimes 5 cameras going, and this production company was amazing. They just followed me through the snow and the rain and the Arctic vortex, and they were just amazing. And my own camera, my own selfie videos, and as I progressed, as I went through the walk and started, I began to change, and I began to learn more, living with the homeless veterans, talking with them, even when the cameras were off, just sitting with them around the dinner table, and just listening to their stories and realizing, this was me, this was you. This film is not my story; it's our story. It's the story of us, if so to speak. And so, they weren't born homeless. They didn't strive to be homeless. They became homeless. And why is that? Why were they selected to become homeless? And so I learned, it's so unique, especially with the people that were non-veterans that came to talk with us and be interviewed, that, everyone has that story. Everyone, if we talk about veterans being 10% of the population being traumatized, well, now we have 90% of the population being traumatized. We've all lived through a pandemic. We've all lived through some trauma in our lives. We just haven't identified it, or we haven't come to terms with it. And so I learned that it's not just my story. And so it's our story. And by learning that, I've learned to be more receptive. And so my mission statement has gone from PTSD with veterans to mental illness and PTSD. And it's a broader stroke, because I'm realizing and learning every day, every time I speak or meet a group, someone comes up to me after the lecture in private and starts telling me a story, and it's always, something horrific, or they want to share and they feel comfortable enough. So I'm learning that there's more to it than just veterans and PTSD. It's a broader stroke. And so the mission statement has taken on a new look. I speak at a lot of universities. I'm going on tour the month of November in a few days, and so what I'll be doing is spreading that word. And again, going back to keeping the conversation going, we need to talk out loud about mental health and mental illness, and so that my mission statement has changed slightly.
Okay. Um, in a nutshell, where are we now with veterans?
Really good question. It's so hard. Now, again, this is my opinion, and where I feel I'm in the trenches. I'm the guy that's out there, with the homeless. I'm the guy that's, traveling and meeting people and giving them a voice, so to speak. So what I'm seeing is, especially the way we closed the door in Afghanistan, I believe the veteran community is reeling. I believe they're backpedaling now, and they're having trouble, after Vietnam. Of course, we're a little bit different story, the Vietnam veteran, but we were forgotten. When we came home, we didn't get a welcome home, so we were forgotten. We're the forgotten generation, and so I'm afraid that's society has already started to forget our veterans. We're not on the front burner anymore, and a lot of these veterans are questioning their service. After watching the end of Afghanistan and seeing 20 years of effort, we're worse than when we started in Afghanistan. And so I believe that they're questioning their service. I believe society has already started to forget them, and we can't let that happen. We can't let what happened to my generation happen to today's generation. And on a mental health plane, they are struggling. The veteran community today is struggling, and we need to reach out to them. And I'm on that mission to do that. Whether or not, I don't claim to be a spokesperson for any particular group, but I believe what we're living through is not a Democrat or Republican problem. It's a social problem. It's an American problem. If we're going to put up boundaries, it's not going to help the situation. We need to talk out loud about mental illness, especially to these young veterans that are struggling. The suicide hotline is ringing. It hasn't stopped. You know, when we talk about 22 suicides a day in the veteran community, um, we're not talking about the veteran that's held up in his home, drugging and drinking himself to death. You know, that slow death, the Walking Dead veteran that's just going through the motion, like I did when I went through 2 decades of that, just, you know, existing and non-existence, and so we need to reach them. We need to find them. We need to go out into the community and find them wherever that may be, and whatever that looks like. Um, you know, we're all survivors in some way. We all have something to contribute. We've all lived through a pandemic. We've all, you know, been uh, in hurricanes and, you know, tsunamis, and, you know, we all have something. So we're all survivors. And with the term survivor comes the term responsibility. You need to take responsibility and perhaps reach out to that person that needs that help, and that's the veteran community. I think with all the programs that they have, every town in America, everyone I visit has so many veteran programs, but yet we still have suicides. So it's not working. What we're doing is not working. You know, and I don't mind saying that. What our government is doing is not working. What the private community is doing is not working. Because if it was working, we wouldn't have these suicides. So, you know, we need to do more. What that looks
And that
like remains to be seen.
and that's understandable. And a pioneer like you, just basically has to keep doing what he's doing right now, and get others to join you to your left and right, and increase those ranks, and actually be soldiers to get politicians, to get community leaders, and to get anyone involved in this, so that it can be an all-encompassing sort of attack on this issue.
What's so amazing to me about the conversation that you just had is, like, Frank, you know, we look at you and we listen to you. You're so outgoing. You seem so confident. You have a mission. You have a purpose, and so you're not what we have been led to believe a person would look like who has PTSD.
Yes, right.
But the salient point that you have is that we all have PTSD right now. And it's just layered on top of layer on top of on layer. And
Yeah.
maybe forgetting about others is a way to survive it on our own, because the sheer volume of pain that's out there in everybody.
Catherine, I did a podcast series on, and you can find it on my website. And the name of the series is called the PTSD Pandemic, the crisis after the crisis. We're living through it. We don't know it yet. You know, this is a mental health crisis. You know, here in this country, right here and now, and we're going to have to move on it. I believe we need to really take this very seriously, and I think we need to, you know, again, keep that conversation going, because, you know, the conversation, it starts with just, you know, healing starts with that conversation, and we need to just start the conversation. You know, instead of saying thank you for your service, follow it by how you doing. You know, how you, as we say here in New York, how you doing. You know, and so, you know, how you feel, what's new, tell me about it. Start, you know, don't just walk away, because I guarantee you something else will come out of that encounter.
Can you tell
Thank
us?
you for that. Thank you for that heads up. I think that's very important. Follow up on the thank you for your service. How you doing?
Can you tell us, like, what not to say? So when I say to a person, how you doing, and I seem genuinely interested, and then they tell me, what do I not say then?
There's really no format to what not to say. That's a person, you know. You know, if you turn to your husband and you just have a conversation. It's like you're talking to a friend. You know, there's no rule, rhyme, or reason. He's a person. She's a person who is more similar then they are different from you. And they have bills, and they have job and kid problems, and they have everything, you know, and they have mental health issues. I have mental health issues. I have a mental disability, and I suffer, and I live through it, but I make it work. And so if you're going to continue that conversation as I'm a special needs person, it's not going to work. So don't pull back. Say what's on your mind. Be truthful, be direct, look at them, and just say what's on your mind. And I promise you it'll work.
I think this conversation has helped me understand my dad.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I was asked to do a podcast to a group based in California, and it was open to the public, so there were people on, and this lady got on, and she was Vietnamese, and she was a refugee from the fall of Saigon. Her father was, and she was at odds with her father. Just what you said. She said, by just this conversation in this Zoom, I think I understand my dad. I think there's some things that now I triggered, or the film triggered, and said, "Wow, you know what? I think I understand my dad." So, and that feeling that you get, that you have right now, Katha, is that's post trauma. When you think about someone and you get teary eyed, and your heart pounds a little bit, and I miss my grandmother. Was the most influential person in my life, and when I think of her, I get a little teary eyed. Well, that's post trauma, and we shouldn't medicate it. We shouldn't downplay it. We should embrace it, because it's the human spirit in us. We're born with it. From the beginning of time, we've had this feeling. And today's society, going back to, you saw it in the film with me, we medicated that feeling. Why would you hide that most important natural feeling? You should embrace it. After you finish crying, you should have a smile on your face, because it's a wonderful thing, because you're in touch with your inner self.
Then I'm going to feel tremendous in a few minutes. Well, we thank you both so much. And of course, we thank Deadline Video for helping us produce this. For those of you who are watching, they're just a great local production company that should be international, worldwide. They take all the stress out of everything for us. We want to thank Captain Valentine, of course, for being here and all that you do and all that you have done. And the next time we're at an event there, I'm going to ask you how you're doing.
Thank you.
And I promise
Thank you very much for you both. This was an amazing conversation. It touched, I'm sure it will touch many people who have an opportunity to hear this.
And the people that we hope that can see it immediately is the Elmhurst staff. You need to look at your Elmhurst email account, please, because in there are the links to the movies on the menu. We've been doing them for a couple of months, and this month is Walk with Frank in honor of Veterans Day. So if you look for your Elmhurst Hospital email account, in that email will be a link to the film in its entirety, and we hope that you do watch the film. And Frank is very accessible on his website. Can you give us the name of the website again?
Yes, you can go to walkwithfrankfilm.com. You can email us. You can email me. I answer all emails. If you want something personal to talk about, I'm available. Please don't hesitate. I want to thank everyone. Thank Queens World Film Festival for screening my film to begin with. That was the world premiere. I cannot thank you guys enough. Captain, it's awesome meeting you. Thank you for your service. I look
Same here,
forward
sir.
to meeting you in person someday. And thank you, Elmhurst Hospital. Please watch the film. and I hope you get something out of it.
I want to tell everybody, please drink water. It helps almost everything. It does. So, closing thoughts for us, which is we're humbled that in our lives this happened. This conversation happened. I'm amazed at the life that we live.
I am thrilled and honored to have this opportunity. Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Frank.
So until next time, everybody, please keep an eye out for movies on the menu. And you're going to see some cards come up with Frank's website and a little bit more about Queens World Film Festival. Have a great day, everybody. And if you're hurting, let someone know.